November 7th, 2012, Rooster Teeth gives the world the first glimpses of RWBY with the Red trailer. But now, exactly 10 years on, what does 10 years of RWBY truly look like? Over this 10 years, RWBY has grown in so many ways. And if I was to cover every single thing, we'd be taking another 10 years. So, we're just going to focus today on RWBY's media. And what exactly does that look like? 10 years of RWBY media. Shortly after, in 2013, we got the next few glimpses of what RWBY could truly become. On the 14th of February, March 22nd and June 2nd, we got the white, black and yellow trailers. And on July 18th, 2013, we got RWBY Volume 1, Chapter 1, the very first episode of RWBY. And RWBY Volume 1 would continue on until November 7th, 2013, the exact 1 year anniversary of RWBY itself. But here's the thing, this was still all online. There was no physical media yet, because that would not come until November 12th, 2013, when we would finally get the RWBY Volume 1 Blu-ray and DVD, as well as the RWBY Volume 1 soundtrack. July 24th, 2014 would give us the first episode of Season 2 of RWBY. But before Volume 2 was over, on August 21st, 2014, we would get the first World of Remnant. October 16th, 2014 would give us the third and final for that season, World of Remnant. And on October 30th, 2014, RWBY Volume 2 would conclude with Chapter 12. And now passing RWBY's second anniversary, on December 2nd, 2014, we finally get the Volume 2 soundtrack. However, only 1 week later, on December 9th, we would get the Volume 2 DVD and Blu-ray release, which would also include a bonus World of Remnant. February 1st, 2015. Unfortunately, the show's curator, Monty Young, had passed away, and it's a real shame because this is all that the show's creator ever got to see of the RWBY media. But as you'll come to see, there is so much more. He died so early into the show's life that it's kind of unbelievable how far it's come. October 8th, 2015 would see RWBY come back again in another World of Remnant series. October 24th, 2015, before the World of Remnant series even finishes, RWBY Volume 3 Chapter 1 had begun. January 23rd, 2016 would see the end of the second series of World of Remnant, with World of Remnant 8. And shortly after would be followed on the 13th of February 2016 by RWBY Volume 3 with Chapter 12. Now, RWBY fans would have to wait all the way till May 3rd, 2016 for the release of the RWBY Volume 3 soundtrack, as well as the RWBY Volume 3 DVD and Blu-ray. May 7th, 2016, we get the very first episode of RWBY Chibi. October 3rd, 2016, to every RWBY fan's surprise, we get a RWBY character short, which is something we have never seen before and is very reminiscent of the red, white, black and yellow trailers. On October 15th, 2016, we get the end of Series 1 of RWBY Chibi, concluding with 24 episodes. October 17th, 2016 would see another series of World of Remnant with World of Remnant 9. And only 5 days later, we would be given the first episode of Volume 4, Chapter 1. On January 14th, 2017, we would see the final episode of that series of World of Remnant, concluding with number 16. And on February 4th, 2017, we would see the conclusion of Volume 4 with Chapter 12. And on May 13th, 2017, we would get a Season 2 of RWBY Chibi! On May 17th, 2017, we would get some RWBY media that would basically passed the Western world almost completely, because we got RWBY this season. Now, the interesting thing about this is this was a book that was only ever released in Japan in Japanese. So, no wonder Western audiences had no idea this thing even existed. And 2 days later, on May 19th, we got a RWBY book that the Western world was more than looking forward to. We got the first RWBY manga. Now, this one specifically was the anthology manga, which we got with the 1, but followed not long later, we got the 2. We also got the 3, and of course, we got the 4. All basing around each different character, RWBY, Wise, Blake and Yang. And finally, on June 16th, 2017, we finally got the Volume 4 soundtrack. And on June 6th, 2017, we got, of course, the RWBY Blu-ray and DVD release. On July 17th, September 4th, on October 14th, we got the Weiss, Blake and Yang character shorts. And on October 1st, 2017, we got the first episode of Volume 5 of RWBY. And finally, on December 14th, 2017, we would see the final episode of Series 2 of RWBY. January 16th, 2018, 4 days before Volume 5 would conclude, we got another RWBY manga. January 27th, 2018, we are given another season of RWBY. Yes! June 5th, 2018, we finally get the Blu-ray and DVD of RWBY Volume 5. And 3 days later, on June 8th, we are given the RWBY Volume 5 soundtrack. Now, this would be the last physical soundtrack they would ever release. August 17th, 2018, we are surprised with another character short. But let's put it this way, nobody expected it to be Adam. And the very next day, on August 18th, RWBY Season 3 would conclude with 16 episodes. And October 27th, 2018, we would get the first episode of Volume 6. January 26, 2019, we get the conclusion of Volume 6 with Chapter 13. January 31st, 2019 gave us the first RWBY official non-story book. Hang on. Gave us the first official non-RWBY story book, basically giving us the history of RWBY. June 25th, 2019 gave us the first official canon RWBY storybook, RWBY After the Fall, which followed the adventures of Team Juniper after the fall of Beacon. June 28th, 2019, we got the Volume 6 soundtrack. But, unfortunately, from this moment forward, it was all digital. We were never given a physical release of the soundtrack, so we can't add it to the pile. It's a little annoying. However, on July 2nd, 2019, we were given the physical release of RWBY Volume 6 on DVD and Blu-ray. And in fact, this would be the last DVD you could actually buy RWBY on. All current volumes afterward would all only be on Blu-ray, which kinda sucks. On October 9th, 2019, we were given something that was a bit of a surprise. The physical release of a RWBY comic by DC. On November 2nd, 2019, we got the first episode of Volume 7 of RWBY. And on February 1st, 2020, we got the last episode of RWBY Volume 7, concluding with Chapter 13. July 21st, 2020 was an odd one for RWBY releases because we got the new RWBY canon book Before the Dawn, which is a sequel to After the Fall. But on the exact same day, we got the first RWBY official manga. And this was part of a series, because we got that one, and then shortly after we got the second and the third one, which was all part of the Beacon arc. And on July 30th, 2020, we were given the RWBY Volume 7 soundtrack, but again, we were not given a physical release, digital only, so we can't add it to the pile. Damn! And on September 15th, 2020, we got my favourite RWBY book, RWBY Fairy Tales of Remnant, which is a fairy tale book that could technically exist within this series itself. So whether you call this canon is really up to debate. On October 13th, 2020, we got the physical release of RWBY Volume 7, but unfortunately the only option you could get this in was in Blu-ray and not in DVD, which was a bit of a shame, but at least we've got a physical release still. And on November 7th, 2020, we got the first episode of RWBY Volume 8. And on March 27th, 2021, we got the final episode of RWBY Volume 8, concluding with Chapter 14. On the 19th of August, 2021, we got a little surprise which I don't think anyone saw coming. We got another RWBY anthology book. And 8 days later, we would get a crossover which I don't think anyone saw coming really. RWBY Justice League. Now this came in 4 parts. We have part 1, part 2, part 3, and of course, RWBY part 4. Everything has to come in 4s. We know that. And on September 5th, 2021, we were given another RWBY book that apparently is canon to the series, Roman Holiday. And on November 23rd, 2021, just happens to be Doctor Who's birthday, just random coincidence that, we got the RWBY Volume 8 release on Blu-ray. And on December 31st, 2021, we got the RWBY Volume 8 soundtrack, but then again, we didn't get a physical release. On June 27th, 2022, we got RWBY Ice Queendom the comic, which is actually a manga, but because it was released in Japan, it was called a comic. Don't get me on this is just confusing. Okay. And on July 3rd of this year, we finally got RWBY Ice Queendom the anime, the first actual RWBY anime. Now, this is currently still ongoing. It's done all the subtitled episodes, but the dub is still ongoing to this day. So go check that out. And here we have it, 10 years worth of RWBY media. Now, this is kind of insane to me how much there really is when you actually physically look at it in person as one pile of things. It's pretty insane. Now, the only things that I've talked about that aren't in this pile, obviously the soundtracks that didn't get released anymore, and RWBY Chibi. RWBY Chibi never got a physical release. It was never released part of any DVD extras or anything, nothing. But apart from that, everything else, like I mentioned, were actually put on, like, say, DVD extras or whatever. They are all in here, which is insane that is 10 years worth of RWBY media. And I really hope that the next 10 years is just as good as this. So if you want to see more RWBY 10-year things, I'm sure we'll be doing some more videos about it. So click that subscribe and you'll find out more. So I've been Stephen of the Fractured Moon Network, and we will see you in another RWBY or non-RWBY related video. Bye!